My sister demanded that I donate my kidney to her husband I've never met. So I blocked her entire family and got a restraining order the same day. Before we dive deeper, may I ask a small favor? Kindly subscribe and also share where you're watching from in the comments. It makes our community feel closer. I was in the middle of closing a deal at the boutique law firm where I'd worked my ass off for 6 years when my phone lit up with Janelle's sister flashing across the screen. My stomach dropped. Janelle hadn't called me in 3 years, not since she accused me of showing off at Mama's funeral by paying for the entire service. I'd covered the $12,000 cost because no one else would step up, but somehow that made me the villain in her twisted narrative. I let it ring. Then she called again. And again. 7 times in 4 minutes. What, Janelle? I finally answered, my voice flat. Sienna, thank God. I need you. Her voice cracked with desperation that immediately put me on edge. It's Marcus. He's dying. Marcus. I had to think for a second. Your husband. Yes, my husband of 5 years. The man I love. She was crying now, full dramatic sobs that reminded me of every manipulation tactic she'd perfected growing up. He needs a kidney transplant, Sienna. He's got stage 4 renal failure. The doctors said without a transplant in the next 3 months, he'll die. I felt a flicker of genuine sympathy. That was horrible. Truly. But alarm bells were already ringing in my head about why she was calling me specifically. I'm so sorry, Janelle. That's devastating. But what does this have to do with me? The pause that followed stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. You're his only hope, Sienna, she finally whispered. You need to give him one of your kidneys. The world tilted sideways. Excuse me. You heard me. Janelle's voice shifted from desperate to entitled in half a heartbeat. You're a match. Well, you should be. We're sisters and the doctors said family has the best chance. You're young, healthy, you don't even have kids. You can afford to lose 1 kidney. I stood up from my desk so fast my chair rolled backward and crashed into the wall. My paralegal, Devon, looked up with concern, but I waved him off and walked to the window overlooking downtown Atlanta's skyline. Janelle, I've never even met Marcus. Not once. You didn't invite me to your wedding, remember? You said I'd overshadow you and make it about myself just by existing. The memory still stung. Our cousin Deshawn had sent me photos later, showing me the venue I could have helped pay for if I'd been included. That was then. This is life or death, Sienna. Are you really going to let my husband die because your feelings got hurt? The manipulation was so blatant it was almost impressive. Almost. First of all, I haven't even been tested. You can't just assume I'm a match. Second, donating a kidney is major surgery with serious risks. Third, and most importantly, we haven't spoken in 3 years because you cut me out of your life. You made your choice. So you're saying no? You're going to murder my husband? Actually laughed. The audacity was breathtaking. Murder? Janelle, listen to yourself. Not donating my organ isn't murder. That's insane. You're a selfish bitch, Sienna. You always have been. I hung up. My hands were shaking. The messages started 30 minutes later. First from Janelle's best friend, Keisha. How can you be so heartless? A man is dying. Then my Aunt Valerie, who I'd supported through her cancer treatment 2 years ago. Your sister needs you. Family helps family. Don't be like your father. That one hit different. My father had abandoned us when I was 8, and weaponizing that wound was a new low even for them. My cousin Brittany, who'd borrowed $3,000 from me last year and never paid it back. Just get tested. What's the harm? You scared of needles or something? Uncle Jerome, real talk, Sienna. You got 2 kidneys. God gave you 2 for a reason. Share the blessing. My phone wouldn't stop buzz rating. Every notification was another family member I'd helped, supported, or bailed out over the years, now demanding I literally give up a piece of my body for a man whose face I wouldn't recognize in a lineup. Then Mama's sister, Aunt Patricia, called. She was the one person whose opinion still mattered to me. The one who'd encouraged me through law school when everyone else said I was acting white for pursuing education. "Baby girl," she started, and I already knew where this was going. "I know this is a lot, but Marcus is good people. He makes your sister happy. And you know how hard Janelle's life has been. This would be such a blessing." Aunt Pat, with all due respect, no. My answer is no. The line went dead silent. Then, "You're breaking this family apart, Sienna. When Marcus dies, that blood is on your hands." I thought blocking Janelle would buy me peace. I was catastrophically wrong. 2 days later, I returned from a lunch meeting to find my entire family sitting in my law firm's reception area. Janelle, her husband Marcus in a wheelchair, Aunt Valerie, Uncle Jerome, Cousin Brittany, and 3 people I didn't even recognize. Our receptionist, Claire, looked absolutely terrified. "What the hell is this?" I demanded, my professional composure evaporating. Marcus spoke for the first time. He looked terrible, honestly pale and hollow-eyed. "Sienna, I'm begging you. I have 2 daughters. They need their father. Please." His voice cracked, and I felt the gut punch of genuine human suffering. But then Janelle opened her mouth. "See how you live." She gestured around the sleek office space with its glass walls and modern furniture. "You got all this money, this fancy career, and you can't spare one little kidney? You probably got health insurance that'll cover everything. Marcus and I are drowning in medical bills. We lost our house last month." "That's not my fault or my responsibility," I said quietly, aware that my colleagues were watching through office windows. "We raised you." Aunt Valerie stood up. "After your mama died, who took you in? Who fed you?" "We did. And this is how you repay us." The revisionist history was stunning. They'd taken me in for exactly 4 months during my sophomore year of college, and I'd paid rent the entire time. "You need to leave." "No. This is my workplace." "Not until you agree to get tested," Janelle said, crossing her arms. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. "Atlanta Police Department, what's your emergency?" "I need officers at Hartwell and Associates Law Firm on Peachtree Street. I have multiple people refusing to leave my workplace after being asked to vacate. They're causing a disturbance." Janelle's eyes went wide. "You're calling the cops on your own family? You showed up at my job uninvited and are refusing to leave." "Yes, I'm calling the police." Marcus rolled his wheelchair forward. "Please, Sienna. Don't do this. I'm sorry we ambushed you. We're just desperate. You don't know what it's like to face death every single day. To wonder if you'll see your daughters grow up. To watch your wife cry herself to sleep because she's going to lose you." His words painted such a vivid picture of suffering that for a moment I wavered. This man was dying. His daughters would grow up without a father. Could I really live with myself if I had the power to save him and didn't? Then Aunt Valerie said, "You know, your mama would be ashamed of you right now. Thank God she's not alive to see how cold her own daughter turned out." Something inside me snapped. "Get out. All of you. Now." "We're not leaving until you agree," Janelle said. The police arrived within 8 minutes. 2 officers, 1 black woman named Officer Morrison and 1 white man, Officer Reynolds. I explained the situation as professionally as possible while my family shouted over me. "She's refusing to save my husband's life." Janelle yelled. "She's letting him die." Officer Morrison raised her hand. "Ma'am, everyone needs to calm down. This is private property and you've been asked to leave." They finally left, but not before Janelle turned in the doorway and said something that changed everything. "You think this is over? We know where you live, Sienna. We know your schedule. You're going to help us one way or another." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Officer Morrison's expression hardened. "Ma'am, did you just threaten this woman?" Janelle backtracked immediately. "No, I just meant we'll keep asking. We're family. We don't give up on family." But I'd heard the darkness in her voice. And apparently so had Officer Morrison. After they left, Officer Morrison handed me her card. "Miss Hartwell, I strongly suggest you document everything. Those texts, the calls, this incident today. If they show up at your home or contact you again after you've explicitly told them not to, that's harassment. You might want to consider a restraining order." "Against my own sister? I've been a cop for 15 years. Family can be the most dangerous people in your life when they decide you owe them something. Especially something as valuable as what they're asking for." She looked at me with an expression that was almost maternal. "You have a right to your own body. Don't let anyone guilt you into thinking otherwise." That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Marcus's daughters. But I also kept thinking about that threat. One way or another. What did that mean? At 2:47 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. "We found a private investigator who can get your medical records. Might save us all some time if you just cooperated." I sat up in bed, my heart pounding. They were threatening to illegally obtain my medical information? I forwarded the message to Officer Morrison immediately. The next morning I did something I should have done years ago. I hired my own private investigator, a former FBI agent named Terrence Cole who specialized in family law cases. If my family was going to play dirty, I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. "Dig into everything," I told him over coffee at a cafe near my apartment. "Financial records, social media, court documents. I need to know who these people really are." Terrence delivered his first report 3 days later, and it was devastating. "Your sister Janelle filed for bankruptcy 8 months ago," he said, sliding a folder across my desk. "She and Marcus are $340,000 in debt. Credit cards, personal loans, 2 car repossessions. But here's where it gets interesting. They took out a life insurance policy on Marcus last year for $750,000. My stomach dropped. Before his diagnosis? 2 months before. Now that could be coincidence. People get life insurance all the time. But combined with everything else. He pulled out another document. Marcus isn't on any transplant list. Not a single one. I checked every database I have access to. If he's really dying, he should be registered and waiting for a deceased donor organ. Why wouldn't he be on the list? That's the million-dollar question. Maybe he doesn't qualify for some reason. Bad health history, drug use, something that disqualifies him. Or... Terrence paused, looking uncomfortable. Maybe he's not as sick as they're claiming. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. You think they're lying? I think you should request his medical records directly from him. If he refuses, that tells you something. The investigation revealed more. Janelle had been posting on a Facebook group for transplant families, but her story kept changing. First, Marcus needed a kidney in 3 months. Then it was 6 weeks. Then suddenly 2 months. I decided to test them. I sent Janelle a message. "I'll consider getting tested, but I need to see Marcus's medical records first. Complete diagnosis, doctor's reports, everything. If you want me to risk my life with major surgery, I deserve to know the full picture." Her response came within minutes. "How dare you question us? You think we're lying about Marcus dying? You really are a heartless monster. We don't need to prove anything to you." "Then I'm definitely not getting tested. Send me the records or drop this entirely." 3 hours later, a different number called. A man's voice, professional and smooth. "Miss Hartwell? This is Attorney David Chin. I represent your sister Janelle and her husband Marcus. We're prepared to file a lawsuit compelling you to undergo compatibility testing for organ donation. Actually laughed. Good luck with that. No court in America can force someone to donate an organ. Bodily autonomy is pretty well established in constitutional law. I should know I'm a lawyer. We're also considering a civil suit for emotional distress and negligent infliction of emotional harm. Your refusal is causing my clients severe psychological damage. Your clients showed up at my workplace with a mob and threatened me. I have police documentation. Try me. The lawyer was silent for a moment. Ms. Hartwell, my clients are desperate people facing a tragedy. Surely you can understand that. Why don't we all sit down, discuss this reasonably, and find a solution that works for everyone? There is no solution where I give up my kidney to a stranger. The answer is no. It will always be no. If you contact me again, I'll report you to the Georgia State Bar for harassment. I hung up and immediately called my own attorney, a bulldog named Sandra Pierce who'd helped me with contract negotiations before. Sandra, I need help. My family is trying to force me to donate a kidney. Sandra moved fast. Within 2 days we'd filed for a restraining order against Janelle, Marcus, and 5 other family members who'd been harassing me. The hearing was set for the following week. But my family wasn't done. They started a GoFundMe with my full name and photo, claiming I was refusing to save my brother-in-law's life despite being a perfect match. The description painted me as a wealthy, selfish lawyer who valued money over family. They'd raised $23,000 in 4 days from strangers who believed their lies. Then they went to local news stations. Channel 7 ran a story. Sister refuses to donate kidney to dying man. They didn't include my side because I refused to comment, which made me look even worse. My firm's phone lines lit up with hate calls. "You're a murderer," one woman screamed at our receptionist. My boss, Richard Hartwell, no relation unfortunately, called me into his office. "Sienna, I'm not telling you what to do with your body. But this is affecting the firm. We've had protesters outside this morning. 3 clients have called asking to be reassigned to different attorneys because they saw the news story." "Richard, they're lying. I've never even been tested. I don't know if I'm a match." "I believe you. But perception matters in our business. Maybe take some time off until this blows over." I felt my career crumbling because of my sister's manipulations. That night someone slashed all 4 tires on my car. The security camera in my apartment complex's parking garage caught a figure in a hoodie, but the face wasn't visible. The police report went nowhere. 2 days later I came home to find my apartment door slightly ajar. My heart racing, I called 911 and waited in the hallway. The police found no one inside, but several things were moved. My laptop had been opened. Files were disturbed. "Do you have any idea who might do this?" the officer asked. I had several ideas. All of them family. The restraining order hearing was a circus. Janelle showed up in all black like she was already in mourning, dabbing her eyes with tissues. Marcus was in his wheelchair looking appropriately frail. They'd brought a doctor, Dr. Emmanuel Baptiste, who testified that Marcus had stage 4 renal failure and needed a transplant within 60 days. "And is the defendant's sister a match?" the judge asked. "We believe so, based on family genetics and preliminary screening. But Ms. Hartwell has refused to even undergo compatibility testing. Is there a medical reason she should be concerned about donating?" Dr. Baptiste hesitated. "Kidney donation does carry risks. Infection, bleeding, blood clots. There's also a small risk of kidney failure in the remaining kidney later in life. However, most donors go on to live normal, healthy lives." The judge, a black woman in her 60s named Judge Carolyn Waters, turned to me. "Ms. Hartwell, You filed for a restraining order against your own family. Please explain. Sandra stood. Your Honor, my client has been subjected to harassment, threats, ambush at her workplace, slashed tires and a break-in at her home. All because she exercised her constitutional right to bodily autonomy. No person in America can be forced to donate an organ, regardless of family relationship. But we're not trying to force her, Janelle's lawyer argued. We're simply asking the court to facilitate communication and perhaps order mediation so these family members can discuss this tragic situation. Judge Waters looked skeptical. Counselor, there's nothing to mediate. Either Ms. Hartwell wants to donate her kidney or she doesn't. That's not a legal question. But Your Honor, my clients. I've heard enough. Judge Waters turned to Janelle and Marcus. I understand you're facing a medical crisis. I truly do. But terrorizing your sister is not going to solve your problem. Ms. Hartwell has the right to refuse. Full stop. However, Judge Waters continued, before I rule on this restraining order, I want to address some inconsistencies I'm seeing in the medical documentation provided. My heart started racing. I glanced at Sandra, who looked confused. The judge held up papers. Dr. Baptiste, you testified that Mr. Reed needs a transplant within 60 days. But according to this UNOS report I requested from the United Network for Organ Sharing, Mr. Reed is not registered on any transplant waiting list. Can you explain that? Dr. Baptiste's face went pale. I'm not privy to the administrative side of transplant coordination, Your Honor. I only handle the medical evaluations. So you don't know if your patient has actually pursued deceased donor options? Not specifically, no. Judge Waters turned to Marcus. Mr. Reed, why aren't you on the transplant list? Marcus looked at Janelle. She looked at her lawyer. The silence stretched uncomfortably. Mr. Reed, I asked you a question. We wanted a living donor. Family match. Better outcomes. His voice was barely audible. But if you're truly dying, you should be pursuing every option. Correct. Judge Waters pressed. More silence. Then Terence, my private investigator, stood up in the gallery. Your Honor, may I approach? After a whispered conversation with Sandra, Terence handed the judge a folder. Her eyebrows rose as she read. Mr. Reed, were you aware that your wife took out a $750,000 life insurance policy on you 2 months before your diagnosis? The courtroom erupted. Janelle jumped to her feet. That's a lie. That's private information. How did she even get that? It's public record through the bankruptcy filing, Terence said calmly. And it's not a lie. Judge Waters banged her gavel. Everyone sit down. Mr. Reed, Mrs. Reed, here's what I think is happening. I think you've exaggerated the severity of this condition to pressure Ms. Hartwell into donating. I think you've waged a harassment campaign that borders on stalking. And now I'm wondering if there's insurance fraud involved as well. I'm referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office for investigation, Judge Waters declared. And I'm granting Ms. Hartwell's restraining order. All named parties are to stay at least 500 feet away from her workplace and her home. No contact via phone, email, social media, or third parties. Violation will result in immediate arrest. Your Honor, please. Janelle was crying for real now, not the fake tears she'd been dabbing earlier. My husband is sick. We need help. The medical bills are destroying us. We're going to lose everything. Then perhaps you should have thought about that before you harassed your sister, committed what appears to be breaking and entering, and possibly attempted insurance fraud. The judge's voice was ice. I have no sympathy for you, Mrs. Reed. You've used your husband's illness as a weapon to abuse your sister and manipulate public opinion. That's reprehensible. But she's family. Janelle screamed. She's supposed to help us. Family doesn't mean ownership of someone's body, Judge Waters snapped. This hearing is concluded. Bailiff, please escort the Reed party out of my courtroom. As they were being led out, Marcus turned back to look at me. For just a second I saw something in his eyes. Not anger or sadness. Relief. That's when I knew for certain. He didn't want this either. Janelle had been orchestrating everything, probably planning to cash in on that life insurance policy if he died, using his real illness as an opportunity for a payday. After the courtroom cleared, Sandra squeezed my shoulder. You did the right thing. Never doubt that. But I felt hollowed out. My entire family had turned on me. The news coverage had damaged my reputation. And for what? So Janelle could pressure me into major surgery for her financial benefit? Officer Morrison appeared at my side. Ms. Hartwell, I wanted you to know. We arrested a suspect in your apartment break-in. Your cousin Brittany. She confessed that your sister Janelle paid her $500 to go through your files looking for medical records. Of course she did. 3 months later, I was sitting in my new apartment across town, sipping coffee and watching the sunrise over Atlanta. The restraining order had held. My family hadn't contacted me once, probably because Janelle and Brittany were facing criminal charges. The news had picked up the real story eventually. Family accused of harassment campaign over organ donation ran in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. The reporter, a woman named Keisha Davis, had done actual investigative journalism and uncovered everything. The life insurance policy, the GoFundMe fraud, which was shut down and refunded, the break-in, all of it. My firm stood by me. Richard even gave me a raise and a promotion to senior associate. You handled this with remarkable professionalism, he'd said. That takes character. I'd gotten messages from other people who'd been pressured by family members to donate organs, thanking me for standing firm. One woman wrote, "You gave me permission to say no to my brother. I was going to do it even though I have a heart condition that makes surgery dangerous. Your story saved my life." That message made everything worth it. Marcus filed for divorce from Janelle last month. Turns out his diagnosis was real but not as severe as she'd claimed. He was on dialysis and managing fine with years before he'd actually need a transplant. He sent me a letter apologizing. I was weak and let her manipulate me. I'm sorry for my part in hurting you. I didn't respond, but I didn't hate him either. Aunt Patricia called once, defying the restraining order. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Sienna, baby, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. If I'd known what Janelle was really doing. Her voice broke. You were right to protect yourself. I failed you. That apology meant more than she'd ever know. I'm still healing. Therapy helps. So does the distance. I've learned that family isn't just blood. It's the people who respect your boundaries, celebrate your success without jealousy, and would never weaponize your love against you. Devin, my paralegal, asked me yesterday if I had any regrets. I thought about it carefully before answering. No. Because if I'd given in, I'd be recovering from major surgery right now for people who saw me as spare parts, not as a person. My body is mine. My choices are mine. And I'm finally okay with the fact that protecting myself meant losing people who never really loved me anyway. The sunrise turned the sky pink and gold. Somewhere in this city, my sister was probably still playing the victim. But her story no longer controlled mine. I was free. And that kidney? Still right where it belonged. In my body. Keeping me alive to live my life on my own terms. Nobody would ever take that from me again.